Boys and girl, we're back with some more Project Caesar things, and today is a big day because we have the complete map for an international organization, namely the Catholic Church. Now, before we go into the dev diary itself, we're gonna go and we're gonna analyze the map, because you see the map tells us a lot of information that you wouldn't otherwise realize except if you properly analyzed it. Starting from the fact that there's different colors and what exactly these colors mean. While the really blue one is essentially the bishoprics or some sort of theocratic government in essence. The green one in the north here, as well as in the south in the one island of Rhodes, are the military orders, military monastic orders. Then the rest of the regular colors, all the Catholic nations, and the light blue ones are the nations that have cardinals, such as Aquitaine, France, Castile, Papal States, and so on. It's going to be, I believe, 7 cardinals, or better yet, 7 curia. You might have noticed there's some more changes on the map, so they've done a few changes since the last time we saw the map of Europe, which goes to show that whenever this game that nobody knows what it's called is going to come out, and nobody knows when it's come out, has seen a lot of changes in the past month. Who knows why? Nobody knows why. What happened? What kind of feedback they got from who? Nobody ever knows this stuff, right? But yeah, anyway, so here's some things that I am allowed to share. I was invited to Sitges at Paradox Tinto. I was there at the end of March. And I do talk to Paradox regularly with members of the development team for this game that nobody knows. And I will not be putting any theories as to what game this is, partly because I'm not supposed to. But I think we all know what game it is. Go with your instinct. It definitely is that game, whatever game that might be. And yes, I'm also allowed to say that I get early access to Paradox games and DLCs, including Caesar. But I cannot tell you when I get said access. So I guess you just have to wait, see whenever I'm allowed to say these things. Maybe in a month, maybe in a few days. Nobody knows when exactly I will be allowed to disclose a lot more information. One thing I can tell you is that the development team is absolutely amazing. I made a lot of amazing connections, not only with the development team, but with other content creators as well. Project Caesar is probably going to be the biggest hit you're ever going to see. I mean, the amount of feedback that the development team has accepted and has implemented, and the way that they've shaped the game around that feedback, just goes to show that it is a love project. Now, I'm just going to keep it as that. I don't want to give away too much because I'm not allowed to. I've said all that I'm supposed to say for now. We'll have this conversation more in the nearby future. We'll go more in depth in this. I cannot say when. Again, it could be in a year from now, right? Or it could be in 2 weeks from now, or in a month. No, it's just a random date. Nobody knows when we can disclose more about this. By the way, completely unrelated, I have a video that I made about Project Caesar about a year ago. I'll link it in the description. You really will enjoy that video. It's surprisingly good video to watch, I would say. Yeah. So anyway, let's go back to Catholicism. Catholicism is the main topic here, boys. And boy, is this a big one. I mean, this is absolutely huge. So the way that religion in general works in Project Caesar, I shall not name that game that I was just about to let loose. Project Caesar has international organizations, okay? So every religion is, in essence, an international organization. An international organization, which hopefully might get renamed, because international organization is such a long term. But anyway, the point is, this is a unique mechanic in the sense that it's a way of creating different mechanics. So with the same mechanic, you can have different mechanics for religions, for example, right? So you set the terms for what a religion can do, and you can create religions with it. Obviously, there's the base game. I'm talking about if you mod the game, you could potentially mod new religions in. So for Catholicism, we see here it is part of the Christianity religious group. It has max literacy for clergy increased by 25%. Reform desire every month increases by 0.03. But there are, of course, events, and there's other things that will increase the reform desire even more, possibly. I would assume. I have no idea, honestly. There's religious influence that you get from being a part of the Catholic faith. But again, there's other things that might increase the religious influence, of course. Maximum religious influence plus 1,000. That is huge. You can stack up to 1,000 influence that you can use for various things. You cannot declare wars on religious heads without casus belli. Yes, so you cannot no CB the Papal States, for example. Okay, that's what that means. You need to have a very good casus belli. And from what I gather, again, I have no other information going to be very difficult to get Casus Bellis in this game. I mean, at least from what I can read from the dev diaries, that Casus Bellis are going to be insanely difficult to get. I mean, at least according to what we've seen. I'm talking about here. That's it. Enables religious influence. That is a mechanic, which we've already seen we can stack up to 1,000. Will have a religious reform, namely the Protestant reforms and so on. And the reform desire starts at 000 in 1337. There's a college of cardinals up to 16, if I'm not mistaken. There's an official religious head that is the papal head. I mean, the papal states, Pope, the Pope, that's the name. And then we have 481 countries following the Catholic faith. Yeah, surprisingly, Naples has more popes than Poland. That is interesting. It's almost as if the eastern parts of Europe were continuously at war and everybody was just dying a lot, either from war or some type of plague or whatever the shit. And one thing unique to the Catholics is that the Catholic countries cannot tax their clergy at all by default. There are things that might change that. Nobody knows what. However, the clergy will not necessarily swim in money, as that has to be paid to the papacy directly in the form of tithes. So in essence, the papacy is insanely rich. A lot of money goes into that country. So yeah, at least at the start. Then the reformation happens and not so much money goes into it anymore. You know what I mean? And this is again the map with all the countries. We see here in Moldova some changes have been made. And I'm not saying who's responsible for these changes, obviously, because it's definitely not me. But whichever member of the development team did make the changes, I love you. Thank you for taking into account the words of the Romanian dude that kept talking nonstop. And I wasn't told. I really hope the decision to put all provinces at 3 development because I talk too much gets revoked. In Moldova, I mean. Please don't do that to us. All right. Let's move on. The Catholic Church itself, when you open the Catholic Church International Organization screen, this is what it looks like. We have the leader, which is Pope Benedictus the 12th foreigner. We see here a few different things such as the members, and then you see separated the 7 curia, which is the inner circle of cardinals, as I like to call it at least, and then the 16 cardinals, which are not shown. We only see the curia members, which is Castile, Papal States, the Kingdom of Majorca, or whatever of Majorca, I'm not sure if it's a kingdom actually, France, and the other 3 basically French appanages or whatever they're called. Well, I think one of them is actually Aquitaine is French or English appanage, I don't remember. Then we have the 12 military orders, the Knights of Rhodes in the island of Rhodes, and then we have the Livonians, the Teutons, and all the little subjects of the Teutons and the Livonians right next to them. So these are the 12 military orders. The bishoprics, so these are the theocratic governments. It could be archbishopric, which means a bishop that has the right to vote, so that's one of the elected members of the HRE, or just the regular bishoprics, which is the non-elective members of the HRE, as well as you can see here, we have in Ireland, as well as in England, we have 1 each bishopric on either side of that little British Isles. And we have 483 altogether members listed below. Now you also see here we have doctrines. That is something that really shapes the way that the Catholic Church works. Different doctrines allow different mechanics. They give different bonuses or debuffs based on the doctrines. The same goes for the papal bulls, which are more special doctrines, I guess you could say. Then we have the saints. These are people that did incredible deeds and have been sanctified. You will have the option of making saint in the game. And then you have the holy sites, which is pretty self-explanatory. So the decisions concerning the Catholic Church are strictly made by the curia, okay? The curia, those 7 important nations will make those decisions. It is composed of cardinals, of course. Cardinals are represented by special buildings called cardinal seat, available to be built by Catholic countries higher than country ranks in any location where they already own a large religious building. Each cardinal seat will grant its owner a cardinal. So if you're France and you build a cardinal seat, you get a cardinal, which the country can use to influence the decisions of the curia. Countries can have more than 1 cardinal and thus more than 1 cardinal seat. I said that the other way around, didn't I? Well, you get the point. That's why you only have 7 countries in the curia, but a total of 16 cardinals. So yeah, basically within these 7 countries reside all 16 cardinals. That's what that basically means. We see here the building itself, the cardinal seat in Avignon. The level is 1, maximum level in Avignon is 1. I'm actually curious, can you have higher level? I mean, can you have 5 levels in the same province? That would be interesting. It is using a lot of different resources: paper, glass, books, cloth, or whatever that is, honey for some reason. No wine used, which is weird. Okay, Catholic Church not using wine, that's a bit suspicious. Clergy, food consumption increased by 20% in Avignon itself, and then max literacy also gets increased by 2.5, as well as the ability to give the specific cardinal and the market access. The doctrines is basically the set of laws. They are not easily changed, and it is basically the core values of Catholicism. And usually when you try to change these, what happens is you might end up in a in a different religious group. Okay, just saying. Pretty much why the Protestants and the Reformed spawn out is because they have a different core values, different laws in essence. There are, however, some events that will shape it, such as the Council of Trent when the Protestant Reformation happens, and that will allow you to change certain laws, be either more or less Catholic-y, which is totally a word. I didn't just invent that. So we see here an example: the papal authority, active policy, ultramontanism. It allows you to excommunicate directly as long as you are leader of the Catholic Church, because the Pope will get elected from the cardinals. So you have 16 cardinals. When the Pope dies, one of these cardinals will become the new leader of the Catholic Church. So it could be a cardinal from Castile becomes the Pope. You get the monthly influence also for religion and devotion 0.2 as well. And now we also have socio-economic laws. The purchase of indulgence, the policy cum postquam, gives monthly gold, religious influence, and religious... Wait, more religious influence? Yeah, twice religious influence. Okay, fair enough. That's a lot of religious influence, apparently. We also have simony here. Then we have the estate laws, such as the marriage of priests. Clergy cannot marry, so the priest cannot have kids. It increases communalism by 0.1, and that's it. Okay, I think I know why this is shown twice. It's because it's different based on whether it is the leader of the church or not. So it's basically you get more communalism if you're not the leader, and a little bit less if you are the leader. But the main thing that unites them is that they both cannot get married. Religious laws, we have stuff like prosecution of witchcraft, and again, it's different based on whether you're the leader of the church or not. And it shows that you get minus for population joining rebel threshold from this particular law. We have Society of Jesus and prosecution of witchcraft, as well as veneration of saints and reliquaries. Now, the papal bull is the actions that any Catholic country can choose to propose, but only those in the Curia can vote on whether to pass them or not. We see some of the possible ones here: excommunicating Apostolica Servitutis, okay, Christiana Pietas, Dei Gratia Rex. So these are a lot of the ones that you have in EU4 already. A game that might not be related to Project Caesar, nobody knows. But yeah, it's a little bit more in-depth in Project Caesar, and whether the Curia holders vote yes or no, these particular bulls will pass or not. Ilius qui se pro divini gives antagonism impact minus 10%. Antagonism is aggressive expansion, okay? There, I said it. It's freaking aggressive expansion. It's the same thing. Then in Coena Domini gives maritime presence plus 5%. When voting on a papal bull, the interface changes slightly to show how many cardinals support each. It goes without saying that all cardinals that a country will be assigned to vote for the same option. So the amount of cardinals a country has is effectively its amount of votes. So in essence, if you have 10 votes as the Castilians and all the other Curia members have 6 votes, everything you want will happen because you are the entirety of the council in essence. Get a lot of cardinals if you want to have a lot of say in your religion. And honestly, I feel like that's going to be a big deal in this game. Like getting a lot of cardinals, building up all the... Well, you remember they're expensive building those cardinal seat buildings. But hey, they will be worth it for sure. Now we see here 4 say yes, 0 say no for now. Besides the papal bull, there's also the action of excommunication available to all countries of the Curia. So if approved, whatever country is targeted will get excommunicated. These are the debuffs of getting excommunicated. Lowers prestige, influence, tolerance of the true faith. So you get basically 5 unrest, which is really bad. And you get minus 200 papal relations. Okay, yeah, so that's really bad overall. Plus all countries of the same religion will get minus 100 opinion. So everyone will absolutely hate your guts. But that's cool because all 7 Curia Curia members will be able to excommunicate other countries. That's nice. Catholic Church also has some extra aspects in the form of saints and holy sites. Saints are characters of a country that have been elevated to sainthood. They can canonize any of its previous saints, and they will get benefits depending on the ability of such a character. Whilst holy sites are special locations to the Catholic faith, giving some extra income to the owner due to the affluence of faithful in them. So we see here King David the Dunkeld, King Edward. Okay, that's a lot of English saints. Holy schnitzel. Now the holy sites, as you would imagine, are Canterbury, which has Catholic holy site, Chartres, Cologne, Santiago de Compostela, the Holy City of Jerusalem, the Vatican. Alright, outside of the Catholic Church per se, and instead in the main religious panel, there's some extra religious actions available to certain countries beside the already mentioned option to canonize a character. So we see here the religious unity shown on the religious screen, primary religion, liturgical language, because this will be different based on whatever country you're playing as. But in general, if you're a part of the Catholic faith, it should be Latin, right? Because Latin was basically spoken in the churches. It's literally one of the main things the Protestants changed, right? They made the language of the whatever country they're in rather than Latin in church spoken. That's why when you go to church in Anglican or Protestant nations, right, you hear whatever stuff they speak in English, right? You have the conversion rate here, tolerance of heretics, heathens, and the amount of holy sites. 0 saints for whatever country this might be, and religious breakdown. We can also demand apostolic tax, request aid, and placitum regium. These do get broken down. Apostolic tax is an action exclusive to the papacy in which they will demand extra payment from those countries with the apostolic tax privilege enabled. Request aid is an action exclusive to the military orders in which they can ask to petition support to the Pope, their infrastructure, military, or coffers. And the placitum regium is an action available to kingdoms and empires that gives them extra crown power at the expense of relations with the papacy. As you imagine, there's also a reform desire. In contrast to some other titles that also present this value, it is not a ticking clock for the Reformation, instead something that will come into play in the Council of Trent. As such, you will have to wait a bit further to expand on this. We do have to wait longer. Nobody knows what this is. So next week we find out about the Western Schism, Catholicism, Council of Trent, Reformation, all that good stuff is coming out next week, right? Now, Roger Corominas answers a lot of stuff in the comment section, and I had the pleasure of meeting Roger. He's honestly a really down-to-earth guy and really awesome dude. Pavi, also a really amazing guy that you guys probably know from the forums, and David, Saint David UK, also is really wholesome dude. And it was a pleasure talking to them. I learned about the vision of the game and how exactly they approach everything, and I have to say it is a lot of work that goes into it. So I wish I could tell you guys more. I'm not obviously supposed to say anything about it, but let's just say that it is 100% a passion project, guys. 100% a passion project, and most of the development team, if not all the development team, is basically you guys. It's people that have grown up playing EU4, EU3, CK3, and all the other Paradox games, right? Because I'm not just going to single out EU4, EU3 for no reason, right? CK3 or like EU4, playing games like these, you know, and yeah, it's they're gamers like us. They know what we want, so they're trying to make a game that we would all love playing. So next week we talk about the schism, second schism, I guess, right? Because there was another schism before that made Catholicism and Orthodoxy, right? So yeah, there were a lot of schisms if you think about it. Roger does mention there's no requirements for sanctifying someone. That is due to the fact that countries didn't always follow the papal process before starting venerating their past rulers as saints. That's actually cool, and I like the idea of there being no requirements, but at the same time, I feel like that might get cheesed into oblivion. I don't know what a requirement would be for making someone a saint. That's a really tough one though, because it is something that would be shown on everyone's screen, right? On the papacy screen, on the Catholic International Organization screen, everyone would see, right? So if there's no requirements, you'd end up having thousands of saints throughout the years. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of accurate too, because there are literally thousands of saints right now, so, you know. Crusades are normally called by the Pope, so we have that confirmed now by Roger. A cathedral is a large religious building. There's no hard blocks for building a cardinal seat building. So as it stands right now, the country with the highest amount of money will have the highest amount of cardinal seats. So that means that in essence, if you're rich as fuck, let's say as Castile, I don't know how much money Castile starts with, hypothetically throw out there that say you start with, I don't know, like 1,000 gold or whatever, right? You could build like 4 cardinal seats from day one and end up taking all the votes until someone else beats you to it and builds more cardinal seats. But then the French are busy with the war, so they're not going to have much money to build cardinal seats. The other nations are smaller. So what I'm saying is, maybe there should be some hard blocks to this. I don't know. Maybe there should be some hard blocks to this if we don't want Castile to just say yes or no on everything always. He also confirms that holy sites are defined at setup, so you cannot change that, which is unlike the saints mechanic. Also confirms that it's theocracies, doesn't matter if they're bishoprics or archbishoprics, like I said earlier. And he mentions there's a lot of laws and papal bulls, too many to mention here. Interesting. He mentions if the papal states disappears, they will reappear somewhere, as they are key to how Catholicism works. They're abstracting the cardinals as characters. I think this is why he got all the dislikes, not gonna lie. I feel like this is something the community doesn't like the direction for. Oh, so now we know what the little thing means, the papal ban on empires. It means that only one empire is accepted by the Pope. So within Catholicism, only the Holy Roman Empire can have the empire rank. That means England, France, etc. cannot become empire rank unless they leave the religion, they convert to something else. Interesting. Okay, that makes sense. That actually makes a lot of sense, because that's basically the only empire actually officially recognized by the Pope. Somebody, Policy Admiral, mentions that the restriction for only one empire should be as long as the HRE stands. So what he's trying to say is, if somebody dismantles the HRE, then other nations should be able to become empires. And Roger says that he's going to take note of this. Here's my take on this. I think that's a really good idea too. So like, if somebody dismantles the HRE, then there can be more than one empire. That is really smart, because I'll be honest with you guys, dismantling the HRE is not going to be an easy feat. A little side note here, there was an HRE development diary released like a week ago. I haven't covered it yet because I do have a little bit of a hot take, and in order to express that hot take, I would have to maybe say stuff that I'm not supposed to say. But if you guys want me to cover it, let me know in the comment section. I might do it and try and see how I can filter the stuff and just make it sayable. Another user on the forums, Lord Thanatos, gave some suggestions that I also have to agree with. These are really good suggestions, and the development team definitely has also seen this and has considered a lot of the stuff here for sure, knowing them. So once again, guys, thank you for all the hard work going to the forums and giving them your opinion. It really does make a difference. I also find out that my videos make a difference. Okay, so thank you for watching my video. Thank you for writing your comments. It has led to a lot of changes in the game. Love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.